You are now watching Bleav. Do you believe?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 1 of Bleav Me. I'm Joe Ceraulo, and joining me are two legends in their respective industries. On the bottom of your screen, that's Brandon Lang, one of the best handicappers in the industry, and of course, the real-life inspiration for Matthew McConaughey's character in the movie Two for the Money. And the other man we're sharing a screen with, the legend, the Pro Bowl NFL quarterback, and the all-time all-purpose yards leader in the Big Eight. That's the man himself, Kordell Stewart. Gentlemen, I'm excited to be sharing a screen, sharing a show with both of you. But we are less than a week away from kickoff in the 2022 NFL season. So I want to start big, fellas, because I know that you both go big or go home. Brandon, starting with you, what's your best bet for the team to be hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy next February in Scottsdale? Give me a Super Bowl pick to start the show off.
I'm not going to go obvious. I'm not going to go the Chiefs. I'm not going to go the Rams. I'm not going to go the Packers. I'm not going to go the Bucks. I'm going to go against the odds, and I'm going to go with two teams. One's the Indianapolis Colts. I think Matt Ryan coming in with that offensive line. I think we're all learning about Carson Wentz is that Carson was colorblind. I just think he saw the opponent as his team and just cannot help himself from throwing to the wrong receiver, wrong team, and interceptions piled up. But Matt Ryan, the stability of Frank Reich. Listen, we all know the reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl was because of offensive coordinator Frank Reich. He's got the quarterback he wants. He's got the offensive line. He's got the running back. He's got the young defense. It's all right there for the upset, just like the Bengals last year who made a run to get to the Super Bowl. I think the Indianapolis Colts are my surprise. Don't be surprised to see the Raiders make some noise as well, which, by the way, are my pick to win their division at plus 575, which we'll get into later. But I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts. That's my surprise team. Matty Ice all the way.
Kordell, what are your thoughts, man? Two long shots from Brandon right off the bat. We're coming in hot. Are you going a little more chalk, a little more with a favorite? What do you think, Kordell?
Well, I tell you what, I like the conversation about the Indianapolis Colts. I think Coach Reid does a phenomenal job of getting his quarterbacks together when it comes to playing the game. Matty Ice being that quarterback for the Colts, but he would have to compete against the scoring juggernaut. That's in Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. How could you not go with Patrick Mahomes when it comes to the AFC, as well as even the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen? We see this team being as explosive as they are on the defensive side of the football, being able to create turnovers, getting points off of those turnovers. Offensively, the firepower that he has on that side of the football on offense when it comes to Josh Allen and company with the passing game as well as the running game. But I'm still going to stick with Patrick Mahomes. But when it comes to the NFC, Julio Jones, I know he's been kind of gimpy over the years, but I think they have a great way knowing that Tom Brady is the quarterback. He's the grandfather of the league. He's the grandfather of that team. Rest is important. I think they're going to do a great job with him. I still think we end up seeing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the big dance going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh, a rematch of 2 years ago down in Tampa for Kordell. Brandon, you didn't touch on the NFC at all. You love the Colts. You love the Raiders. Are you riding the Brady train as well?
No, I think their offensive line is going to be a problem. It scares me right now. And if I got to go to a surprise team in the NFC, I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're going to surprise some people. The additions they made on the defensive side of the football. Again, I go underdogs. I'm an underdog guy. I go underdogs. I'm not going Josh Allen and my homies, which, as Kordell said, is the obvious choice. I'm looking for value. I'm looking for the underdog. I'm looking for the shocker that, listen, if we'd have done this show last year and I came at the top of the show and I said the Cincinnati Bengals, go Burrows and Hollywood and that, I'm going since everybody be like, man, you're crazy. Then they get there, you look like the God and the legend. So Colts, Cardinals, no shot whatsoever. But if it happens, just like that dime piece at the bar, if it happens, we're where we need to be.
I love it. I love it. Only problem there is I don't think Cliff Kingsbury can coach his way out of a paper bag. I have very little faith in that man. Kyler Murray, though, he's got the arm. He's paired with Kordell. You're a guy who had a lot of success in that conference. Kyler Murray in the Big 12 with Hollywood Brown was one of the best duos we've seen in recent memory. Hollywood, of course, with the Cardinals. D-Hop suspended those first 6 games. I think that their chemistry and their rapport is going to pick up right where it left off at Boomer Sooner. Gents, I hate to do this because typically I tend to side with Brandon, and I tend to be a little more of an underdog guy. But Kordell, this year, looking at these odds, looking at these storylines, I'm going Bills and Bucks. I mean, and I know that there are two respective favorites, the Bucks at plus 900, the Bills at plus 600. Of course, all odds brought to you by our partners at BetOnline. Head over to betonline.ag. Use the promo code Bleav50, that's BLEAV50, for your first time 50% welcome bonus, and let the games begin. So looking at these two, they're the two betting favorites, but I just think that all storylines, all paths lead to Tom Brady going up against a team in his final game that he's dominated his entire career. And I think the Buffalo Bills retire Tom Brady.
You say Kingsbury can't coach his way out of a paper bag. I'll force Sean McDermott and Todd Bowles to show me they can coach their way in big time ball games. Talk about coaching. Be a little careful there.
All right. I get it. You know, Sean McDermott let that game against Kansas City get away from them. But Kordell, I mean, you saw what happened that game. The firepower, Gabriel Davis, 4 tutties. I mean, come on, man. Buffalo's legit, aren't they?
The coaches don't play the game. That's what we have to remember. We play to win the game, and it's not the coaches that are winning the game. It's the players that's getting it done. Remember, in this league with how they play nowadays, it's spread offense, right? Defenses are great. Buffalo has a phenomenal defense. We know the Kansas City Chiefs, they relied heavily on the offensive side of the football. When it comes to both those teams, I just think the team that can score the most will be the team that ends up winning that game. That's what it came down to the last AFC Championship game with the Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs last year. If we can make a stop here or there with the Buffalo Bills in the defensive side of football, they win that game. Josh Allen brought them back from dead, literally, to give them an opportunity to win in the closing moments of that game. But I mean, come on. When you have Travis Kelce, you have Patrick Mahomes out there actually playing the way they play, the matchup is a problem when it comes to who can cover Travis Kelce. I just think the firepower. The only thing that can hold him back is injury, but that's another conversation for another day. But if we had to go off of 2 healthy teams in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills as well as the Kansas City Chiefs, I just think the arm the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and company is second to none. I don't think no one else can beat them.
Brandon, I'll let you get one more word in before we move it on.
I'm going to say it again. Patrick Mahomes is great. I don't trust Andy Reid. Listen to me. They don't beat the San Francisco 49ers if not for 2 batted balls. Because on both those third downs in the fourth quarter, Garoppolo had Samuel wide open in the middle for 20 yards on third down. Jones batted it down. On the next third down, they got somebody open in the slot. Kittle's right underneath. That's going to be 20 yards. If Jones doesn't bat those down, it's game, set, match, and the Chiefs don't even win a Super Bowl. So if we're going to talk about coaching, I know coaches don't play the game, but they sure as hell call the game. I don't trust the big fella who ain't missed a meal since Christ came back 2,000 years ago.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man, going for the jugular episode 1.
He went for the jugular.
Gents, let's go back into some win totals now. We've got 32 of them in front of us. Brandon, I want to know out of these 32 over-unders, which one is your mortal lock?
You can bet your children's unborn, children's children, and their grandchildren into the year 2227. The Atlanta Falcons will win more than 4.5 games. That is their win total. They won 7 or 8 with half the team that they have this year. Mobile quarterback, the resurrection of Marcus Mariota, Pitts on the outside, an improving defense. Their win total at 4.5. Children's, unborn children's children, and grandchildren on the Atlanta Falcons over 4.5 wins. I do like the Carolina Panthers over 6.5. I'm drinking the Baker Mayfield Kool-Aid. Every place he's gone, that team has improved. I'm not saying they got to win 10 games to make the playoffs. I'm just saying, can Baker get me my 7? And I say Baker can get me my 7. Last but not least, the Raiders over under 10 wins. I'm drinking Devontae. I'm drinking Renfro. I'm drinking Waller. I'm drinking Carr. I'm drinking the offensive line. I'm drinking Josh McDaniels. Give me the Raiders over 10 wins.
Kordell, lots to unpack there, man. What's your raw reaction?
Well, I agree with him about Baker Mayfield with the Panthers. We've seen what he's done with the Cleveland Browns. He brought life to that organization, even though he's not with them anymore. I think the Baker Mayfield effect, I think, will ignite this offense, will ignite this team. I think we'll get Christian McCaffrey the ball now that he's healthy while on the football field. I do see them winning more than 6.5 points games during the season. And my Steelers They got us only at 7.5. What are we talking about here? I know
Thank
we're
you.
trying to figure out who the quarterback is going to be, in Mitchell Trubisky or even Kenny Pickett. But what I saw in the preseason, not so much were they able to beat the blitz, things of that nature. It's just knowing where to go with the football. We'll get to scheming and game planning as the season goes on. But I think with Kenny Pickett being an older rookie, let's say that, right? An older rookie. He's more mature than we think he is based on the title that he's given, being that he's in the first year of his NFL career, which is a rookie. I think they have the pieces behind the center to help this team actually move forward. I give them more than 7.5 wins. I give them 8 to 9 wins, to be honest, to get them the opportunity to compete within this division, because I think the Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to be competitive. I think the Cleveland Browns, they have an opportunity to be competitive. And also the Baltimore Ravens, with Lamar Jackson leading the helm, have a chance to be competitive. But I think this team and the Steelers will shock people more than they think. 7.5 points is so disrespectful, to be honest with you, when it comes to the odds. I say they go over when it comes to the amount of games they win this year.
Brandon, are you on the Steeler train too? Because I know I am, Kordell. I'm glad you brought it up. To me, that is the most disrespectful line out there. Mike Tomlin's a coach who has never finished below 500. They're saying the Steelers might go 7-10. Look, even if they do go below 500, I think it's an 8-9 team at worst. The quarterback situation might be a big question mark, but that defense, I mean, I'll be damned if they allow a touchdown most weeks. Brandon, what do you think about the Steelers?
You stole my line, which is fine. I'll allow you to steal it. Mike Tomlin's been there for 471 years. Cowher was there for 500 years, and Chuck Noll was there for 300 years. I mean, 3 coaches in the last 200 years. That organization sticks to a guy. And as long as Tomlin has been there, as you just said, the man has never had a losing season. So for Vegas to disrespect the brother, putting it at that 7.5, saying you are going to have a losing season, no, thank you. I will take the over. That is a great mortal lock call by yours truly. All-purpose yardage winner. Big 8, Kordell Stewart.
I love it. I love it. And there's a reason that VIG is not great. It's only minus 130 to get him over 7.5 because Mike Tomlin has never gone under 500. Quick correction to one of your first, Brandon. I know that there's a lot of numbers in front of you. Raiders over under. This is going to make you look even better. It's only 8.5 right now on Bet Online. So you had said 10. Raiders over 8.5 on Bet Online.
I'm sorry.
Yes, no worries, man. It just makes you look even better. I mean, this team is clearly above a 500 team. Let's talk about the Raiders. Let's talk about that AFC West, because you've got 4 teams here that are all playoff caliber. It's very tough. Last year, I said the NFC West would have 4 playoff teams. Seattle fell off. They had 3. Really tough to get all 4 teams in a division into the postseason. Can the AFC West do it? And Brandon, who do you think the best bet is to win that division? Is it the Raiders to win it, or are they a wild card team? And are you going with Kansas City maybe to win that division?
It's literally the best division in football.
Oh, yeah.
You look collectively at the 4 quarterbacks that are going to go at it. Carr, Mahomes, Herbert, and Russell Wilson. They're going to beat the crap out of each other 6 times. Beat the crap out of each other. So competitive. To me, it's the number 1 division in the NFL. And I'm telling you, I'm going to stick with the Raiders at plus 75. We already know Slash is all over Mahomie. And that's fine. That's fine. I ain't hating. I'm appreciating. But for me, the value at plus 575, I'm all in on Vegas.
Slash, what do you say? Are you in on Vegas, or are you not taking them seriously with Josh McDaniels at the helm?
I'm going with the Chiefs, man. I cannot. Because here's the piece to the puzzle, and I think we talked about this a moment ago. Andy Reid, he is the matchmaker and creator when it comes to those types of problems, right? We've seen what he's done with motions and shifts and coming off of bye weeks. He's the most winningest coach when it's time to coming off bye weeks and how he's won consecutively after that. I just think that relationship between those two and the bodies that he has on offense as well as on defense, it's going to take some time to figure it out because nothing's guaranteed. But if I'm sticking with a quarterback that I feel like can really get it done when needed, as far as being able to make it happen within that division, because yes, that is arguably, I won't say it's the most competitive division. I'll say they have the most competitive quarterbacks in that division. Think of any other, give me another division that have household name quarterbacks within it with all 4 let's say, in the top 10, when it comes down to the best quarterbacks in the National Football League, all 4 of those quarterbacks are arguably in the top 8 for some conversations, but in the top 10. Herbert probably being on the back end of those top 10 quarterbacks, but that's arguably the best set of QBs that we have in the National Football League. I still go with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the guy that's been there and done that, not being hopeful, but feeling pretty good about themselves going into the season with what they have around them, led by the main man himself and Andy Reid.
So look, if you're like Kordell and you think that the Chiefs won't skip a beat, great value there at plus 170, even though it's the worst value of the 4 teams. If you're a Kansas City truther, go take them there. And if you're like Brandon and a little bit like myself, a little inclined to go plus 575 on the Vegas Raiders, look, guys, $20, you flip it to $1.15. I mean, how do you go wrong there?
I just can't trust the guy who's got Papa John's, Domino's, and Pizza Hut on speed dial. Just can't do it. I just can't do it.
You're killing Andy Reid. He's one of the best coaches of all time, man. You're killing him. You're killing him.
Can't make a guy Dunkin' Donuts without stopping. Next, let's roll.
Hey, I've got to get to a team that I think is really being undervalued, a team we haven't even mentioned yet. I want your gentleman's take on the New Orleans Saints. Their win total is sitting at 8.5. This is a team that last year lost Jameis Winston. They had to start Ian Book, for crying out loud. This is a team that didn't have Michael Thomas, one of the best possession receivers in football the entire season. New Orleans Saints, 8.5 wins, over under. I'm hammering that over. What do you gentlemen think? Brandon, starting with you.
No feel, actually. You know, Jameis was off to a really good start in Sean Payton's system. We all know Jameis had Carson Wentz disease the year before. In Tampa, I think he threw 31 interceptions or 20. It was some absurd amount of interceptions. Sean Payton and the season they got started off, no interceptions really, running the game plan, sticking to the game plan, then he gets hurt. If Jameis comes back and picks up right where he left off, I have to believe that that's a great pick because the foundation, both defensively, offensively, Kamara, offensive line, Thomas is back. Absolutely. It's all on Jameis, though. If he plays error-free, tough to beat. Slash can comment on this. Turnovers are killer in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. If Jameis plays clean, that's another good one of over wins because the base of the Saints and their football team is rock solid as long as they get good quarterback play.
Yeah, and I would piggyback off of that and add on to it, actually. Tyrann Mathieu being an addition on the defensive side. I think that's an inspirational leader on that defense. He's a hometown boy. He's from the New Orleans area. He's really comfortable in his community. The support system is going to be tremendous. And you better believe the pride and the ego of being home, as well as having a chance to win with a Kansas City Chiefs team, he's going to take that energy and I think apply it to the secondary because that's been a big weakness for this New Orleans Saints team for a very long time. Other than the time in which they had chances to go to the playoffs and go to the championship, I think that's been kind of the weakness of this defense when it came down to how well they can play. If they can get the support from that side of the football, use Alvin Kamara the best way they possibly can to get him the ball, even if it's not Jameis Winston, you have Andy Dalton as the backup. Now he's a viable piece when it comes to being able to come in and orchestrate being able to win some games or be competitive still, because you're only as good as your backup quarterback is what I like to say sometimes when your team is struggling. But in this case, I do see the Saints, in my opinion, this is just me, I give them a half to one more game more than 8.5. I give them the over because I think it's going to be more competitive in the NFC South than we give credit to. It's not just going to be Tampa the whole way through. Yes, Carolina Panthers is going to be really solid with Baker Mayfield coming in, but I think they still play very good football there with that defense having Tyrann Mathieu and also that offense be able to control the ball. And if Jameis can stop the turnovers, yes, to your point that you guys just made, they have a chance to be very competitive when it comes to playing in this division. So I think they go over 8.5 when it comes to their wins.
I love it. You got the hometown Honey Badger, played his college ball at LSU. On the offensive side, Jarvis Juice Landry, look, he may not be at his peak like he was 2-3 years ago. Another LSU kid. I think he's going to fit in like a perfect cog in this system. Chris Olave, the dynamic rookie with 4.2 speed. I mentioned Michael Thomas is a possession guy. Olave is the deep threat. I just think that they're set up. And even without Sean Payton, Having Dennis Allen take this team over, I think gives them tremendous continuity. In fact, Dennis Allen is my favorite pick for coach of the year at plus 2,200. So let's get into a player prop, a preseason player prop, gentlemen. MVP award. Kordell, going to start with you on this one. Who do you think the 2022 NFL MVP is going to be?
We just went over the top players, 100 players in the game, and who was sitting at number 2? Was it Aaron Donald that I saw sitting at number 2? Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right? Who was? I think he was a defensive player. Aaron Donald sitting at number 2. I may be wrong, but again, I've said this before. I'm saying it again. I'm going with a defensive lineman. I'm going with Aaron Donald, who I think is going to be the one who's going to be rock solid throughout the season. He's bringing the cavalry with him, baby. They're following him. He sets the tone. He's going to have 3 to 4. He's still going to be at the tops when it comes to tackles. He's going to be at the tops with getting sacks. I just think he's a difference maker. It's no more hitting agendas anymore as far as trying to figure out, can a defensive player get it? I think he becomes the one in a very long time to be able to get the opportunity to be the MVP. I know we want to go quarterbacks. I know you two are. I know it. He's probably going to go with Carr, and I think you may go with Josh Allen. I'm not sure, but I'm going to sit here and go with a defensive player in Aaron Donald. I'm done. I digress. Go ahead.
The quarterback going defense. Brandon, who's your pick?
Last year, Aaron Rodgers won the MVP. Davante Adams was a major reason why he won the MVP. Other receivers prosper when you have someone like Davante Adams. The numbers that Carr and Adams put up together at Fresno State were insane. And I'm not saying Davante is going to go for 130 receptions for 1,500 yards. When you got Renfro and Waller teamed up there, Derek Carr at plus 1,600 is my pick to upset the world and win the MVP.
I love it. You know, Kordell, no disrespect, and I expected a quarterback coming from the man himself
of course
who
you
played
did.
the position. Of
course you did.
It's a quarterback award nowadays. I mean, look, if Jonathan Taylor couldn't get a sniff a year ago, I don't know who else can. It's a quarterback award, and I think Derek Carr with Renfro and Darren Waller alongside, oh, by the way, Davante Adams, I think he's going to have a 5,000-yard season. Brandon, I don't mind that pick one bit. Gentlemen, before we wrap it up, we've got 2 big college football games this week on the slate, starting with a top 5 matchup. Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame Fighting Irish heading to Columbus to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Brandon, take us through the numbers, take us through the trends. Who do you like in this game?
I'm going to tell you something right now. The offensive line and defensive lines for Notre Dame, especially their offensive line, one of the best in the country. I know it's hard to go against teams in the horseshoe, but that's a big number for a top 10 team, and I can't pass up the 17.5. Not a game I love, most certainly, but breaking it down, I just feel like that's a lot of wood first game out of the box. You're getting the hype of Ohio State. I get it, but I'm sorry. I just think first game of the year, it's a bigger game for Notre Dame to compete and show than it is for Ohio State. That's a huge number. I'm going to take the dog plus 17.5.
Cordell, what do you think about this matchup?
I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup. I mean, new head coach there in Notre Dame, identity check, right? I mean, naturally, when you bring a new coach in from the success you've had prior, you want to figure out what's the temperature like, right? So I think this is going to be an identity check when it comes to Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But Ohio State, we know who they are. They're going to pound it. They're going to throw it, get it to their speedy guys on the outside. Special teams may be a big factor in this one. I just think when it comes down to this kind of a game between a Notre Dame team that I know is going to be technique sound, they're going to want to come out and prove a point, it's a 60-minute game. You can't just play for the first half. You can't just play for the first quarter. I'm still sticking with Ohio State in this case. They know that ramifications when it comes down to they win this game, where it catapults them to, because they're trying to play for the national championship. Notre Dame is too, don't get me wrong. 17.5, that's a lot, but I'm still going with Ohio State in this game. I just think this is the platform for them to show why they're considered as one of the premier institutions in the country when it comes to their football program. And that's what it is. Notre Dame's going to find their way. I think they're going to play really good in this game, but I still think Ohio State and the Buckeyes end up prevailing in the end.
Well, fellas, I'm here to break the tie, so let me do just that. I do think Ohio State wins. I think Notre Dame covers that number. I think Marcus Freeman is the best coach Notre Dame's had in a long time. I think he's a guy to get the players rallied and showing up for him more than Brian Kelly could, more than Charlie Weiss ever could. So I think Marcus Freeman is that dude in South Bend. I think Notre Dame is going to keep this closer than people anticipate. Brandon?
A couple of numbers for you. Last year, Notre Dame 2-1 as a double-digit dog. Brian Kelly 9-1 in the regular season against the number his last 10, and Ryan Day 11-13 against the number last 24 on the Vegas board, 5-6 his last 11 against the number at the Horseshoe. So he made you money early in his career, inflated numbers. He's not making you money late. The value of the number, the value of the line tells you that the points are the way to go.
Gentlemen, one last game in 10 words or less. Oregon's playing Georgia down in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Georgia's favored to win by 17.5. Brandon, will they win by 18 or more, or does Oregon keep it close?
Bo Nix, baby. Bo Nix transferred from Auburn, went to Oregon, played Georgia 3 times, familiar with their scheme, familiar with everything they do. He will not be intimidated. Oregon's got 15 starters back from last year. They're quick. We all remember they went into the Horseshoe, knocked off Ohio State, getting the same exact number. I will take Oregon plus the 8.5 and show Georgia to show me first game out that they've reloaded. I'm going to take the points there as well.
Cordell?
Well, I tell you what, yeah, Bo Nix may have come from the SEC, but the rest of them are still in the Pac-12. They don't understand what the SEC football game is all about. I think Kirby Smart keeps this thing going. I think in the trenches is going to matter. And the question becomes in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, will they open up the sky or will they leave it closed? Because if they open up the sky, it's going to be humid, it's going to be hot, and I think the running game is going to be the answer to this. I think they play downhill football. I'm going with the Bulldogs.
I love it. Gentlemen, that does it. Episode 1 of Bleav Me in the books. I can't wait. We'll see you next week for week 1 of the NFL slate. For Kordell Stewart, for Brandon Lang, I'm Joe Ceraulo. This is Bleav Me.